What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. So recently I asked a poll on Twitter getting people's opinion on multi-accounting in Pokemon Go and just kind of like the thought process behind it. Are the multi-accounters the new spoofers of maybe 2018? Just trying to get some feel from the community at large. The results are fairly interesting, and I do think a lot of people are interested in this topic, not really from like a global perspective, but more or less from attending events. Whether you're considering going to a Safari Zone event or maybe even Pokemon Go Fest, you're kind of worried about multi-accounters and their overall effect. So I figured, why not go ahead and film kind of like a podcast styled video, and I'm gonna bring on Count Gensula, who's covered this multiple times on his channel, to go ahead and bring him on and then of course talk about the topic. So I hope you do enjoy it, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Hello everyone, and welcome Count Gensula to the channel. Thank you so much for coming on. So Count has actually covered this topic multiple times on his channel, so he is definitely a veteran of these types of discussions, so I would highly recommend you to check out his channel. But today we are talking about multi-accounting. So of course people have been talking about it, kind of talking about the negative side of it, especially in light of the Pokemon Go Fest event and then some other events like the Safari event. But what we want to actually start out with is a couple of positives. So I'm actually going to list off a couple of reasons why I think most people do multi-accounting, and then Count is going to bring in a couple as well. So number one, rural players not having enough people to show up to a raid. Now this is something that's been a problem for a long time, but the solution to it was to simply have people just have multiple accounts, and then you can make sure that you go in and do a raid. So the second reason would be associated to something like PvP or trading. For example, if you are able to trade with yourself on a daily basis, and then of course always try to do that, you can definitely benefit from it that way. You can, for example, catch weather boosted Pokemon on multiple accounts, and then with doing that, you can then trade them, try to get yourself a lucky. So I would say in that regard, it does provide some type of advantage. But of course, this is coming from a rural player. So Count playing in Chicago, do you kind of have any examples of your own that you think people use multi-accounting for?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big examples that I have found recently is that players will play for their family members. Like, I know one guy who has 4 kids, and all 4 of his kids will play. And sometimes he'll just show up to a raid with 5 phones, and it's mainly because his kids are all in school, but they still want a chance at, like, shiny Latios. So for that reason, I can see why people multi-account, and essentially this is account sharing. So I know some people like to distinguish that, but there's also players who like to say that it's pretty much the same thing. But that is one reason why I see people multi-account. It's to help out their family members, and I think that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Like you said, it feels like there is an important distinguishment on that one where, is it technically multi-accounting if it's one account per person, but those people aren't there? You know, that kind of gets into the gray zone, but that's definitely a true thing because you can't help it necessarily when raids show up. Sometimes you simply can't do it if you are at work, if you are at school, and that just happens to be when the raids are. So that's definitely a good point. But I'm sure many people have come to this video to kind of hear a little bit more about the negative side of it. And this all came about, it seems like in a single instance related to the lottery system, and Count Gensula has made some videos about this, talking about it, kind of criticizing it, talking about it, what people are kind of bringing up related to it. So do you want to go ahead and briefly summarize what you think people are thinking about the lottery system and kind of how that relates to multi-accounting?
Yeah, sure. So it's very interesting because I feel like up until now, multi-accounting is something that a lot of players were already aware of. This was not something that just suddenly came about. But I feel like up until the lottery system, like the whole Pokemon Go Fest ticketing system came about, like people just did not care. But now that it's starting to affect them directly, now they are actually thinking of it as something very negative, which I think is very interesting because it's essentially something that Niantic has to deal with. Like, I've spoken with people from Niantic. They are not happy about multi-accounting. They actually think it's something that's very negative for the game because, of course, they do not design the game to be like something for multi-accounters. But yeah, I mean, it really comes down to that. People really didn't care about multi-accounters until it really started to affect them, and they realized, hey, they might miss out on a ticket because multi-accounters are eating up all of those ticket drawings.
Yeah, you definitely had like the magic phrase until it affected other people. And a
Right.
lot of people have that same argument in relation to spoofing as well, where it's like, okay, so they're going to spoof. They're kind of taking the risk if they want to do it, but I don't really care until it affects other players. And for multi-accounting for the longest time, I think that this is the first time where we have seen just a pinnacle moment that defines multi-accounting as affecting other people. People are going super crazy about this. I do think people are interested in this type of topic. So definitely check out some of Count Gensula's videos if you want to get a little bit more in depth to that. But I have to say, if you yourself go out there and see somebody multi-accounting, don't go up and approach them. Don't say something about it. I mean, to be honest, I don't feel like it's our place to be the judge and jury of that, and I definitely don't want anybody to get hurt. This actually happened to me earlier today. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, I noticed you clicking your little board over there. Just want to let you know that, well, it says here the multi-accounting is against the rules. Looks like Article 14, Code 7 of the Terms of Service. And I'm just gonna have to ask you to stop. Just gonna serve you this. Yep. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. You can multi-account if you want. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so that is a joke. Yes, a little bit of a dramatization, but you get the point. The final thing to kind of drive this home was actually captured in a video by Reversal. This perfectly encaptures what I think people are feeling in the community. As you will see, this player from the Safari Zone event is taking up an entire table of his own devices. Yes, it's at least 20 plus phones. I estimate it to be about $500 spent on all of these accounts, assuming they are all playing Pokemon Go. And we're just kind of worried that there's gonna be like 5,000 people at Pokemon Go Fest, but there will be like 20,000 accounts, and then it looks like super bare. I personally don't think that this is going to happen. And then on the flip side, just because people can do that does not even necessarily mean that they will do that. If we bring about this type of awareness for anybody who is multi-accounting, definitely keep this in mind because your actions in this case can affect others. And if we all just kind of like band together in that way, despite whatever Niantic does to combat it, if we combat it ourselves and just kind of like talk about it, discuss it, I personally think that we can come to a resolution. But anyways, I want to say thank you so much to Count Gensula for coming on to the channel. It was definitely a pleasure having you. Do you have anything that you want to say for the last words?
Yeah, I actually think Pokemon Go Fest, regardless if there is a spoofing problem or there is a multi-accounting problem, that it's going to be a lot of fun. And I say that because last year there were still a lot of multi-accounters at Pokemon Go Fest, but I still had a big blast and there was a lot of people. So rest assured, I think Niantic will take care of it. And yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun.
We got to keep it on the positive side. But anyways, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. I wanted to extend a huge thank you to the supporters over at Patreon. You definitely make this possible, and I 100% appreciate the support. If you are interested in supporting my channel on Patreon, definitely feel free to check out the link in the description.